Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Jug Dealers Podcast, where we talk about all things cannabis and lifestyle related, brought to you by the great people at 5-8 Distribution. And of course, you can get onto the website, jugdealers.net, and check out all of our fun stuff on there. The online shop is on there where you can get any of the products that you see behind me or that we talk about. We also have the samples tab there. Hit the samples tab, fill out your grower's form. You can get a nice full set of samples. I personally think it's quite a great deal. You can also get our VIP growers list to stay in the know, get coupon codes, things like that. And then, of course, Josh does have us all up and running on Patreon, which is our new spot for the Jug Club. We did have to move over there, as we've talked about and as we let you people know. And we've been seeing more and more of your faces over there, and we're getting more and more content up. Josh has been hard at work behind the scenes to put up some cool stuff, and we're going to keep bringing you that content, whether it's from Spain, whether it's from Florida, whether it's from here, whether it's from there, California, trying to bring you some behind the scenes stuff, also some Jug School type things. As you can see, got a bunch of good stuff up there. Also, of course, you get 20% off everything when you're part of the Jug Club, which is always great. And then last but certainly not least, you can get on the bookings page and see where we're going to be at. We will be at Mary Jane in Berlin in June, so get on the list there. We're doing an exclusive drop. Hit me up. We've got a tab where you can email me and let me know you're going to be there, and I'll put you on the list. It's a very small exclusive list of the drop that we're doing, so make sure you get on there sooner than later. Woo! Now that all the housekeeping is done, we are going to do a very special 420 episode today. I actually flew down to Florida and hung out with some of my friends down there and was able to do a interview with Michael Klein of Grateful Dead lore. You will not want to miss this one. We were able to sit down and have a very candid chat. I very much appreciated the time. It was a blast doing it. And there's even some things that came out on there that I definitely didn't know, and I think a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, basically everybody, will not know. So you will want to tune into this episode. Michael Klein of the Grateful Dead, not in the Grateful Dead, but of that very tight circle. And if you want to know how, when, where, and why, follow along. Check it out right now. Welcome, everybody. We're back here at the Jug Dealers Podcast, where we talk about all things cannabis and lifestyle related. And today, we have a very special interview that we're going to be doing with my friend Michael Klein here. As you can see, we're in sunny South Florida, having a good time at Reggae Rise Up this weekend. So anyway, here we are. Very happy to be here. Very exciting interview. For those of you that don't know, this man has been around a lot. Has done a lot of different things. And so in reality, I kind of like to just start with your long, strange trip that you've been on. No pun intended, of course. So for those of you who don't know, this man has had a very close relationship with the Grateful Dead and all things surrounded with that for how many years now, Michael?
Well, my first show was 57 years ago.
Wow. So we were 13? 14. 14. Okay, not today yet. Yeah. And so I'm assuming that's also about the same time you probably discovered cannabis as well.
Yeah, it was. I was a pretty straight kid. I thought I was an athlete. I was ambitious, and I was just told a lot of lies about what it would do to me and how it would ruin my life. And I had my sister, who was 12 years older than I was. I married a really cool guy. He was like all city quarterback for the number one football team.
Okay. And
he was a sharp businessman. He was an entrepreneur. And I walked in one day and he was breaking up a pound.
Well, hello.
And he explained it was okay. And I did it with him. What really changed me about that is I realized that I couldn't trust anything.
Right.
That I'd been told by the schools, by my parents.
It just, you understood at that point in time that in theory, everything could be a lie at that point.
That's right. And that I had an obligation to find out for myself.
Sure.
And that led to some good and bad decisions.
Well,
but that's how you learn.
Yeah.
And so that really was a point that changed my life. I was really excited to get back into it in a legal way.
Right. Well, that's obviously, it's it's been an exciting journey starting, all the way back there and then actually being able to move into this. And you're from Ohio originally, correct?
Right. Yes.
So how the heck did you end up over, was it just a go west young man kind of thing?
Well, it's funny. I actually, when I was growing up in Cleveland in high school, I wore a cowboy hat and boots every day. My best friend, my best friend had a small ranch in the outskirts of Cleveland and had horses, and his father was a national cutting horse champ. And
no shit.
So I was cutting cattle at 15, 16, and of course I fell in love with the Grateful Dead. In 1969, my first show, I saw Jerry playing pedal steel opening with the Riders for the Dead at Allen Theater in Cleveland, and then this was the most amazing thing is I switched schools and I entered a new school where I met a musician. His name was Matt Nickel. And he said, so you like the Grateful Dead? And I said, I'd heard American Beauty and Working Man's Dead.
Sure.
I'd been to my first show. And I said, yeah, I really like him. He said, well, come on over. We'll listen to some. And he literally taught me how to listen. How to actually listen simultaneously to all the members of the band,
right.
How they were interacting, how to understand jazz as filling the holes,
right?
And he really opened up the music to me, and interestingly enough, and he was a great saxophone player, a flute player. He played drums. He played piano.
Wow.
He's now head of the composition department at Berkeley.
Oh, okay. All right. So no slouch at all.
Yeah. I mean, what luck. That was a really lucky.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, just that understanding. I know we were talking, the other day too about that David Gilmour quote about it's not quote. It's not the notes. It's the time between the notes, right. and like, it's interesting you say that you learned to listen to it and be able to dissect and say, okay, I see how people are interacting and the improvisational aspect.
I used to set my alarm a half hour early and wake up and put headphones on and just concentrate on the music.
Wow.
And being able to hear it all.
Sure.
At the same time. And so, yeah, like almost everything in my life, I've been really lucky. Being lucky is better than good.
That's true.
And so it was, that he was a door opening experience for me.
No, that's amazing. That's really, that's really, really incredible. And so we're in Cleveland, you're getting into the music.
Right. All right. So, now my father was very difficult and required me to go to certain schools. I had to go to private schools and I could only go to certain colleges, and all my, schoolmates, classmates were going to New England, and I culturally, I wanted to go out and follow the Dead.
Right. You're like, I'm going to go west.
And so I went to college just outside LA at Pomona College.
Okay.
And of course I went out to follow the Dead, and 2 months after I got there, they took a 2-year hiatus.
Oh, bummer.
But I got to see lots of Jerry Band and Kingfish.
Well, so that's not the worst thing in the world. It's interesting, too, that you mentioned Jerry playing pedal steel with New Riders. A little known fact, and we discussed this the other day, too, is the fact that he played pedal steel on Teach Your Children with CSNY. Very little known fact. I consider myself a little bit of a fact person. So.
I think you've read everything.
Yes. I've basically read every credible biography on the Dead. So, and I pick up, as you guys know, I pick up all kinds of stupid little facts, which then I like to quote here and there. So how did you, so 2-year hiatus, because you went from a spectator to in the circle. Mm. And how did that happen?
So, I finished college in Southern California, and I moved back to Manhattan and got involved, started a data communications company that arbitraged International Telex. And that got lucky and
okay.
And I spent 2 years in Boston. I went back and got an MBA from Harvard and came back to New York after the MBA, had a software company that I got lucky with. And at the age of 30, I was able to retire.
Well, that's a goal. I already passed that. So.
Well, I mean, look, like I said, I had this really guilting father, and he shot me out of a cannon, and he said I'd never be happy if I didn't achieve. And so I got lucky and achieved, and I said, well, now what am I supposed to do?
Right.
So right. I did the only logical thing that I think anyone would do under those circumstances. I went on the road for 10 years.
So you retire and you go on the road with the Grateful Dead. Okay.
No, it was again, another ridiculously lucky thing. I moved back out to California to Mill Valley in 1985. And one of my best friends growing up in Cleveland, moved there the same time. We both had our first children within a month of each other. And he calls me up one day and says, hey, how'd you like to play in a flag football league? I said, well, that'd be fun. Sure. He says, well, Weir's got a team in it. And my jaw just dropped. So,
oh, wow.
So I met Bob through the league. I, of course, was in a position where I didn't have to work, and I had the time to go out with him. And every time the band had to deal with money, it was because somebody had stolen it. And, I was somebody they could trust.
Right.
I didn't need their,
you didn't need that. Yeah.
Off them and so I got involved with them. I became partners with Bob in Modulus.
Yep.
And in TRI and Sweetwater. And we've had a good working relationship, but I was just in fantasy camp.
Well, right. But, and you keep saying lucky, but, I truly believe luck is where hard work and opportunity meet. And it sounds like you've obviously worked hard. I mean, there's definitely a few things in there that I wouldn't have expected. I don't think a lot of people would expect. So obviously, yeah, lucky, sure. But you were also putting yourself in the right place, the right time, and you were open to it. You were open to opportunity.
I was lucky. That's it. I can't. I mean, it's
okay. So blank football
serendipitous, things that have happened that my father never forgave me for retiring at 30 and going on tour with the Grateful Dead. He used to say, "What are you doing? I'm ruining your life following that band." And I'd say, "Dad, somebody's got to carry the drugs."
Yeah, I mean, come on, somebody.
And he'd go, right.
Oh, wow.
So now, getting back to the serendipity and luck, Jerry's wake was at my home, and his wife invited her family out, and I was hosting, so I introduced myself to her brother. And I asked him where he's from. He says, Palm Beach. And I said, oh, wow, I've got a little rock quarry down there. He goes, oh, I know that quarry. And we start talking for 5-10 minutes about who's building what. And then he says to me, someday those pits are going to be a gold mine. I went, what are you talking about? They're in the Everglades. There's snakes and alligators, and nobody's going to want to retire down there. That's crazy. He says, no. Those pits are the future of water in South Florida. I went, and how would you know that? He says, well, I'm county commissioner and head of the water task force.
Okay.
So, I mean, he turned out to be right, and it was just total luck.
Right.
But I did get to go to my dad and say, hey, Dad, wasn't it a good idea that I found that band?
Remember that band thing, Dad? Remember that? No, it sounds like it put you in the right place at the right time. And I do find that very interesting that you were able to, and it makes complete sense to me, able to get close fast, because there were so many leeches at that time, so many people leeching off the band, and the fact that you needed nothing from them. And I think that obviously resonated with them and probably made everything a lot easier.
Well, and I tried to be an honorable guest. It's a lot of people, would get back there and then not be invited back. They didn't know how to behave.
Sure, you saw that a lot.
At least I tried to. So that was great. I loved them. I saw some amazing things. I mean, the community that surrounded them intellectually, environmentally, it was just a very sharp, Jerry he could talk about anything from nuclear physics to 12th century Catholic cathedral design.
Right. Right.
And it was just so bright and just the sharpest, in the room. And I loved them all. There was a lot of difficulties in the post Jerry years in terms of Phil and Bobby getting along. And people it's actually not really known that Phil got his liver from Bob's father-in-law.
No way.
Who was no, not his actual liver. He was a senior neurosurgeon at Mayo Clinic.
Okay.
And at Mayo Clinic, if you're on senior staff, you get one go to the front of the line pass.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And Phil was dying and they couldn't get him one. And his father...
One get out of jail free card.
Yeah, one go to the head of the line. And Phil didn't even know it. To his death, didn't know it.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, that is fairly little known. We're learning.
there was real love there, and they were brothers, even though they fought like brothers.
Well, sometimes. That's the thing. Yeah, they fight like brothers as well. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's take a little bit of a detour here, and let's talk a little bit about you actually getting into the legal cannabis world. Oso Mountain, what you were doing out in Sonoma. That was all Prop 215 stuff. I'm assuming.
Yeah, and when we were touring with the Dead. But prior to 95, we had, I don't know, 6 or 8 guys from Sonoma and Mendocino that would give us big bags of the best pot, and we gave them laminates, and
seems like a good trade.
And then, so when 215 passed eventually, they mentored me and taught me how to grow the plant. I'd never grown it before then.
Okay, so you'd always been consumer middle.
Consumer, yeah. And so in Sonoma, I had about 50 acres, and I think started in maybe 2013 or 14. And 2017, I had 500 plants go up in the Sonoma fires.
Ooh.
I like to call that a foreshadowing of the industry.
I wish I could argue with you on that, but it's been a bit of a barn fire the last few years. There's no doubt about that. So obviously that was kind of your initial foray, and currently, for those of you who don't know, obviously you are a co-founder of Bio365 and Arcana as well, the Arcana Collective. I'd like to obviously talk a little bit about both of those, but
sure.
Let's start with Arcana, right?
Can we start with Bio365?
We can start with Bio365.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
No, well, it flows that way. So I spent a lot of the 80s and 90s and working in the environmental community. I was chairman of Rainforest Action Network, and we were always looking for opportunities to change the carbon dynamic. And we stumbled on something called biochar. Mm-hmm. And biochar is anytime you cook an organic waste in an oven with no oxygen, it creates a ton of synthetic natural gas, and it creates this charcoal, which is super porous and has a lot of attractive agricultural aspects. But what it really is it's taking carbon from the annual plant cycle and sequestering it for 100,000 years. And it truly is a gigaton carbon sequestration strategy. When we started researching it, and I had a soil scientist from Cornell University who was doing our research, we built a test kiln there at Cornell. And at the time, natural gas that you created was at $15, you could sell for a profit,
right? And
just give the char away. and
it's not a bad business model.
And then fracking came along, and natural gas went from $15 to $2, and the whole business model collapsed.
quickly.
So we had developed 5 patents for optimally making the char, for inoculating it with biology and with nutrients. And we couldn't raise any more money. So the soil scientists just said, hey, this isn't going anywhere. I'm going to take this stuff and make a soil with it. That's what I do.
Okay.
Right. And he went back to Cornell and started playing with the soil. And he developed a line of soils that, he called me up one day and said, Michael, because we're still trying to save the world through carbon sequestration, and there we keep this thing going. He says, Michael, you won't believe it, but people are showing up at my factory with big trucks and first names only and cash.
And you're like, okay, this sounds familiar.
I said, I know who your customers are. He says, I do too, but I'm British and I work at a federal university and they'll throw me out of the country. I said, don't worry about it. Send me some soil. And he sent me some soil, and I put my plants in it, and no transplant shock. They just took off. They were 3 days ahead of the stuff I was putting in Fox Farm. And I said, wow. I called him and said, where do I get this? He says, you can't.
You're like, no.
I said, what do you mean? He says, well, soil's really heavy, and to ship it to you from New York is just prohibitively expensive.
But what if we make more?
I said, that sucks, And then I thought about it. I called him the next day. I said, what if we split the country and I take the West and I'll give you 20% of it, which is 20% more than you're telling me you're going to get otherwise. And you keep the East, and if I can make, a brand of this, we'll see if we can merge and go. And that's pretty much what happened. I mean, the soil is unlike any manufactured soil on the market. All due to his genius. His most important breakthrough was being able to create a living soil with broad spectrum biology that's as clean and consistent as any media. We created in a HEPA filtered, air pressure controlled, clean space.
Because everything's stored indoors. Everything's indoors.
Always stored indoors.
Amazing.
Our factories are Sally ported, which means that the internal factory is never open to the outside world. If you open an outside door, the internal door is closed. If you open an internal door. We use more extensive IPM in our manufacturing than most of our customers do in their cultivations. We use hypoacis mites. Our soils have been known to actually knock out complete fungus net infestations just by putting 2 plants in the room with the biology soil.
Interesting.
So it is truly a different soil than anything on the market. It's a living soil, and the plants express themselves better.
Right.
Now, and it's been successful in the market. I mean, today we have, I believe, 7 of the 10 largest MSOs as customers.
Yep.
But what I'm really proud of is that all the legendary OGs who created the foundational strains pretty much only grow in our soil.
Right.
And, my job, I've got this incredible partner, Sean, who is the CEO and does all the work and runs the company.
Yeah.
My job is basically to take the customers to Grateful Dead shows.
Bummer. That sounds awful.
And so over the, starting in, maybe 2019, a regular group of our customers who were regular fans. There was Sonny Chiba, Shane Yoakum, there's John Hudnall, there's Chem Dog. All these guys, we would get together to go to shows, but ultimately we would end up commiserating about the state of the industry. These guys were all very successful before legal cannabis came along, and they all thought, wow, this is going to be great. And, like everybody else in the industry and the ancillary industries too, we've all been slammed.
Yeah.
And so we would try to figure out what we could do, what was wrong, what we could do to change it. How could we, get a much better quality product onto the shelves? How could we reward the people who can, by contribution, the people who had created these foundational strains that they're all stolen from them?
Right. How can you give it back?
How could we create a better set of values? Not all the values of the legacy industry were perfect. It was an illegal criminal industry. Yeah. But a lot of the values were very, appropriate and have been lost by the industry as it is.
Yeah. Well, and just the soul has been lost a little bit, the soul, the direction, the community. And that's something that I think the people that I'm working with, the people that you're working with, those are the community people. It is the people we're trying to work with, because I believe that they were the community then, and they're still the community now, even when it has been lost for the most part.
And the culture. And so we started actually with 16 Bio365 customers, all breeders. It was a little unwieldy, as you can imagine.
A little unwieldy,
But we brought it down to 6 really committed, really incredibly talented breeders. We built a campus in Shelton, Washington. We call it Ghost Town because it's a Ghost licensed facility there. And it's a optimized breeding campus. We're literally able to create thousands of strains a year. We're able to test them in indoor, outdoor, and mixed light environments. We're able to basically, for the first time, I think, embrace the unlimited potential of the plant.
Right. And to be specific, you guys are taking foundational strains like OGs, chems, things like that, and then F1 crossing them with some modern stuff.
So yes, we built 16 breeding rooms into the facility that are all roughly 140 square foot, 2 light rooms where we can put 2 male brothers and 15 pairs of females of different profiles. So it's all done with intention.
Right.
We're not just pile and chuck.
Right.
But we're starting with not just the foundational strains that came from these 6, but we also have, excellent base genetics for what we call the released strains.
Right.
Strains that have been publicly let out. Once you let out a clone, you've lost
control. You've lost.
Yeah. And again, wanting to try to establish some fairness in the industry in terms of breeding and IP. This will allow some of those strains to be recaptured, because now everything we do is we're DNA sequencing it, we're putting it under tissue culture, and we're reinvigorating it and releasing what is known to be the real Chem 91, what is known to be the real Josh D OG or the real Ghost OG. And we're also setting up this whole thing to be a collaborative effort with outside breeders. So one of the things we feel really strongly about, we've established, is what we call PAC, permission, acknowledgement, compensation. Okay. So every outside breeder we work with, first we have to get their permission to use any genetics we use. Second, we have to acknowledge them and the lineage of the work we're doing. Mm-hmm. And most importantly, 10% of the gross proceeds go to the 2 breeders.
Excellent.
And so far we've entered into four of these agreements. Marty Calabrese was down here at Flowery. Okay. And Braveheart, mm-hmm. and Mean Gene from Mendocino, mm-hmm. was Jackson. And basically it's give us your best males.
We got the girls.
The first one. The collaborations will center around some truly special males that they have.
Is there any real specific traits you guys are looking at? Are you trying to keep that real gas, the old school, or is it? Yeah.
I mean, what I'll say is that our team definitely has a preference personally professionally for the gas.
You don't say.
You know, and
real gas, not this kids calling it gas shit.
Well, I think what's interesting is that, and two of our foundational strains, you know, which would be Chem 91 and Josh and Ghost's OG Kush, they are actually in 91% of the strains available in retail today in cannabis, because
they're foundational.
Because they were the potency drivers. That's when everybody crossed with those to
bring some percentages.
You know, THC and terpenes. You know, again, the sulfur and the gas compounds and the thiol. It's not just terpenes, but
no, it's thiols, it's flavonoids, terpenoids, it's all kinds of things.
So so those strains are so prevalent because they were used for that purpose.
Of course. And honestly, for me, like that's really the stuff I prefer. A lot of this new stuff, it's like I always go back to the gas. I mean, Josh dropped us off a sample when we were at the Indoor AgCon. My God, I mean, just the most beautiful, legit OG I probably ever had.
The other really important thing about Arcana, though, is we're often discussing how to monetize their IP. And their IP wasn't just the foundational strains they created or their ability or capabilities to breed new strains. It was their knowledge of the plant in all respects. Cultivation, IPM, post-processing. We have one of our partners, Kai, is maybe the greatest hash and solventless rosin guy in the country. And it's an art. And we want, you know, part of dealing with, you know, we looked at the problems of the industry. We started with quality, and there's so many structural reasons why it's difficult to get quality fresh cannabis on the shelves of dispensaries. But there was certainly just such a lack of understanding of the plant from the finance driven.
And a lack of respect as far as I'm concerned as well. You know, I think that's one of the biggest issues is people living in spreadsheets and not realizing what plants even are and how powerful they are. They're making their own food. You know, they're very, you know, I'm always the kind of the botany desire type thought process, who's controlling who. You know what I mean?
I love that book. I love that book.
It's a phenomenal book. I suggest it to everybody. So I believe you hold 10 patents. Is that right?
Yeah.
With soil?
With soil,
yeah. With the soil specifically. And I know we were talking a little bit last night about, you know, Synganic and actually marrying these things, because we've seen both sides of it, right? We've seen people go with, you know, soil only. We've seen people go straight salts. The straight salts lose all the soul. It becomes soulless weed, right? And so bringing biologicals in one way or another is incredibly important for phenotypic expressions. I always say that there might be 17 plant essential, but that's only what we've proven in science. And the reality is to think that there's not other plant beneficial compounds, biocatalysts, stimulants, et cetera, is pretty narrow thinking.
Right. No, I started in my cultivating career when I had a raw food restaurant in Marin County in 2000. And I had built an organic garden and was making my own compost. I had to buy chickens and build the chicken coop because I couldn't get a source of organic chicken manure.
Right. You're like, all right, we knew this.
But I didn't understand then. I thought that, you know, there must be something about organic nutrients that somehow made for this incredible garden tomato that was bursting with flavor and sugar, you know, and you go to the supermarket and see this giant greenhouse tomato that tasted like cardboard, you know? and I thought, well, it must be something about the organic nutrients, and I was pretty stunned to find out, you know, from my partner that the plant cannot tell the difference between an organic nutrient and a chemical nutrient. It's all about how it acquires the nutrient. Yep. And you know, I like to say that the farmer in control is firing for range. The plant in control is firing for effect.
Okay. Right? All right. Take that one to the bench.
So when the plant can tell the biology in its rhizosphere what it needs, and the biology delivers it, that's when the plant is able to look. Our plant is like a human. We're just computers executing our DNA. Right. And our DNA is a program for building a molecule. And as long as you have all the building blocks for that molecule, you're going to successfully express that gene.
Yes.
And if you don't, I was of the analogy, if a leaf-eating aphid lands on a leaf, the plant's defense is actually to make up a food for microbes that float in the air. And it sweats it out onto the leaf, and the microbes come down, and in coming to get that food, they put a layer of slime on the leaf, and that's the plant's defense for that leaf-eating aphid. Yeah, and now 13 more leaf-eating aphids land on 13 other leaves. Now the plant senses that it now has to make 13 times that specific molecule. Eventually, the bucket that the farmer can throw together is going to be missing some.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's a lot of the minimums. It's going to be missing something at some point.
Yeah, and so that's what that giant greenhouse tomato is. It's just it did not have what it needed when it was trying to execute that program. So I really that's it. Now in saying that, okay, we've done some trials in bio where we actually got better expression and better yield out of a salt-fed nutrient light soil of ours. Yeah. And it shocked us, but then my partner was actually able to go into the lab and measure the respiration of our biology when it was consuming the salts and growing. And so you can waterboard the plant with the salts, but in between those feedings, the plant's going to be able to say, wow, that was really good, but I could use a little magnesium and a little this. And you get the best of both worlds in some respect.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I'm not going to, I've always been a big organic person and believed in it. And I certainly believe that cannabis that's raised with biology in the root zone, serving the plant, it tastes better. It works better. The plants are healthier.
There's just too much that we don't know about what's going on in the rhizosphere. So I always just err on the side of the plant, err on the side of, evolution, history, whatever. They know what they're doing.
We like to think of the key being biomimicry. That's all we're trying to do. Right. We're trying to mimic the natural soils biology in the rhizosphere. We're trying to mimic the air and water porosity. We're trying to mimic the way the media dries down. And that's something nobody else can do. It's part of the biochar. But we actually have a water release curve that's very similar to soil. And so it rains, water's super available. Plants get water from the soil by tension. By tension. And so the first day it rains, there's tons of water. The plant doesn't have to pull it all hardly to get everything it needs. Every day it gets drier and drier, and every day that plant has to pull harder. And that exercise is a known trigger of secondary metabolite production. And I don't understand it because a lot of the media I see out there, you cannot stress the plant.
That's very true.
It doesn't hold water.
Right.
So, again, we're trying to mimic nature.
I love it.
That seems to work.
It does seem to work. So I guess even building on that, because obviously you've been doing a lot of work in this space, really what do you want your ultimate impact on the cannabis industry to be? I know and I know you've gotten lucky a lot. See if we can do it one more time.
I don't know. I had dreams, early on that this was going to be something. I think now, cannabis is going to evolve like other products eventually. And there will be quality. There will be Marlboro.
There's going to be all of it. There's going to be a scale.
Beer, whatever.
Right. There's craft beer. There's,
I'd hopefully like to see a better educated market. One where the THC number was the only thing that
it doesn't matter. In all honesty, that's really one of the things. That's why I've been doing this podcast, is really trying to just put real quality scientific information in the community, because I think a lot of people have been misled, or it takes so much time to fail so many times to learn. And it's like, you know what? We just want to give people the right information and make them successful.
At Arcana, our tagline is the plant, the seed, the science. And, cannabis was stifled for so long because of prohibition on any real research.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of catching up to do. And at the same time, I don't believe in industrial ag. Right. So a lot of the science gets pushed towards, what I'd say call industrial ag versus versus better plant expression or quality. Mm-hmm. So the impact I'd love to see, our team, get more involved in the science and make it more, information that can be distributed and shared.
And used.
And that's, this whole thing has been so misregulated. It's been impossible.
Couldn't agree more.
So that's going to take years and years to evolve. When I grew up, you couldn't buy Coors beer or California wine in Ohio.
Right.
And I don't think the answer is necessarily cross-border, federal.
Yeah, you don't necessarily think that interstate commerce is the way to go.
I don't, because I'm concerned again about an industrial product that's stale and
I couldn't. Yeah, of course.
Right.
And you see that. I mean, depending on where you're getting your produce from, is it local like you're talking about, or is it shipped across? And
I mean, the fact is there is a craft market. It's just not part of the legal market. And there are $5,000 pounds being slung around all over the place.
True story. Yeah. With real quality. Look, quality still sells. Quality still does it, but it also sounds like you really have emulated that ethos of collaboration over competition was always part of the dead ethos. And you've just kind of seem to have moved that on, because it's something where you're trying to share your information. You're trying to be collaborative. You're not trying to hold this stuff in. And I think that's honorable, because I think so many people grab something that they think is special and then keep it.
I've been in a lot of different businesses, and I can only get excited about them if it's somehow going to make a difference. I had the very first gourmet raw food restaurant in the country. I can tell you how to make a small fortune in the restaurant business, and start with a large one. I had a business that had a patent for making oriented strand board, structural plywood out of agricultural waste wheat straw. And unfortunately, when we started, plywood was selling for 60 cents a square foot.
Right.
And then like the 2006, the whole housing market collapsed. It went down to 15 cents and never came back.
Yeah. No market there anymore.
So that didn't make it. But that's the only thing I can get, really excited about and engaged in. And I mean, bio was definitely one of those things. And Arcana, I'm hopeful is
good. I mean, I honestly think that the work you're doing out there is really interesting, and it's appreciated by people like me that have been in the space for a long time, have seen part of the community lost, and really, want to bring it back and want to keep it where it really started.
Yeah. Well, we're going to give it our best shot.
Michael, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure.
As a friend of mine would say, we got our best troops on it.
Thank you very much. This has absolutely been a pleasure, a great conversation, and great hanging out this weekend. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you next time back in the Jug Den. Till then.
Thanks.